One of the big deals about blacksmithing that has compelled me since I was a kid is the fact that it is the ancient craft, right? It's been around longer than almost anything else. And as I was diving into blacksmithing in my middle age, and I discovered Cy Swan, my friend Cy Swan, you've met him, and he introduced me to this book, Anvils in America by Richard A. Postman, I discovered the story of Mousehole Forge. This is a Mousehole Anvil. This anvil was manufactured on a bend of the Rivelin River near Sheffield, England, sometime between 1825 and 1850. But the Mousehole Forge factory existed on that river in the same spot using water power from at least, get this, 1735, early 1700s, to 1930-ish, at least, and probably from 1635, and possibly from much earlier than that. Just consider that. Not only were they using water power, but they developed this pattern, this classic pattern of anvil called the London pattern. That's an accomplishment. And they were the first to dive into anvil making as an industry, as a focus, and industrialize something that up till then had been an act of survival that was accomplished by dedicated and hardworking and brilliant blacksmiths for the good of their own community. So anyway, I've got one Mousehole anvil, and I love it. It has some problems. I'm going to try to fix them. But we're going to go up to Cy Swan's forge and see his ginormous Mousehole anvil that has had some problems repaired, and I have the privilege of working in Cy's shop, extending the horn on a 582-pound Mousehole anvil in the middle of Cy Swan's Green Valley Forge. Come with me. How wide is that face, Cy? 6.5 inches?
Yeah, about. It's not quite 7.
How long were you looking for a Mousehole before this one came along?
Well, I've got that little one that I treasure. But that whole Mousehole story has fascinated me since the first time I read it. The fact that they operated for 300 and some odd years with water power. The writing on it, it's about 1858, right in there.
Towards the end of Mousehole's tour of duty there on the Armitage River, 100 years before they burned down in beginning of World War II.
1930 something.
Yeah.
My little Mousehole anvils had some bloody beating on it that wasn't being very careful.
And the penalty for that should be what?
Well, unfortunately, death is not a...
At least in Oregon.
The reason we like to check the rebound when we're buying an anvil is because it feeds our energy back when we're hitting stuff with the hammer. It gives us something back. And these little Mouseholes, this little Mousehole anvil is pretty good. My Trenton was, I think Taylor figured out it was 95% one day. He measured.
That's pretty good. That's
Yeah.
pretty good. So how much does that weigh? 75 pounds?
This is 118.
118 pounds. Let's go over and show them what a 582-pound Mousehole looks like up close and personal. Not quite as good as that little one, maybe.
Oh, not quite.
Pretty good, though.
The 2-inch ball bounces a little better on this one.
Okay, so talk to us about the evidence of repair and the way this thing works for you, because you switched over from your Trenton, what, a year ago now after you made the deal with Jeff?
Yeah, a little more than a year. I actually have considered going back. The super wide face isn't a big advantage to me.
In the work you're doing?
In the work I'm doing.
Being mostly knives.
if we can fix this horn so it's a little better out on the point, that'll eliminate one of the difficulties I've had with it. The way this horn is shaped right now, I think Jeff worked on it some. It doesn't lend itself to working anything over the horn because it's rounded off so bad that it pushes things off it.
So we're trying to keep the taper more even and project the end out maybe an inch and a quarter or something.
Yeah, so it has a little better point on it.
With the top remaining essentially with the straight line down the annulus, and then just bring it out and let the bottom sweep up to the curve that we've got right there. All right. So a MIG gun is a wonderful, wonderful thing until it doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, it will drive you ape. And there is something to be said about a stick. So we've only got, I don't know, a couple, maybe 2 pounds of 70-18 rod up here. And that's what I'm going to use. And we're going to get the shape right. And then if Si needs the top a little harder, we'll put something harder over the top later. But let's just see if we can push a 70-18 bead around in all sorts of positions and make the end of this thing a little more copacetic. Now, as brutally strong as anvils are, entropy is real. And anvils can be hurt, they can be injured, they can go through fires, they can be chipped, and they rust. And that's about it. I mean, unless it sinks with a ship, there's probably going to be part of an anvil to work on. And I've made a few videos about how to restore and repair and help anvils. So you're going to see an approach to improving the shape of a horn, which was either degraded through use, abuse, or just the way that it was forged. I'm going to try to enhance that, because even an anvil yields to entropy every so often. This is day 2. Everything was uphill sledding the other day, because as it turned out, we didn't have the whip stuck far enough back inside the machine, and the gas was leaking out, and I was trying to get acquainted with that little Vulcan welder. And I have a lot of other excuses, none of which matter. We've got the tip built out, but I've got some real ugliness on the bottom. So we'll go back to a little overhead action, and the humiliation may be complete. Flap discs will make a welder out of almost anybody if you've got some time. So I'm going to show you the last weld I made, which is the only one that I can feel good about showing anybody. And that's because it's just a series of tacks. And I was beginning to develop a relationship with Si's welder. But we've pretty much got the bottom of this cleaned up. The curves are reasonably fair. The point is refined enough. I hope you can see these colors, but we've got a faint straw yellow, which is 300. Full straw is 350. Bronze, 400, 4 1/4. Peacock, you know, it's 475, 500, full blue in the 600 range. And my point is that we didn't get enough heat to change the temper in this anvil back any further than right there. And the fact is that the horn is typically not carbon steel anyhow. The horn is typically soft. So at least I'm going to maintain, and I'm going to assert to you, that we didn't hurt this old mouse hole at all, and in fact increased its functionality. And that is Mr. Swan's first, second, and third priority: functionality. Thanks for watching Essential Craftsman, and keep up the good work. Right there is a delaminated spot in the face of this old anvil. Comes clear out to the edge, doesn't quite go to that edge, and one of these days I'm going to gird up my loins and see if I can figure out how to fix that.